nerds, welcome to another episode of What's Up Survival Horror, your weekly updates on everything related to upcoming horror games, from leaks and rumors to official reveals and announcements. I'm here to make sure you didn't miss anything major over the last week in gaming news. On today's agenda, we'll be taking a look at Silent Hill Townfall, as there might be a new trailer for this game releasing about an hour after this video goes live. Also, an indie dinosaur survival horror game finally gets an update after being so quiet for so long. Plus, Dead by Daylight releases a new roadmap that reveals their plans for gameplay improvements. But as always, we'll start with new games and trailers released this week. And while there weren't many major new horror games announced this week that piqued my interest, there were two horror games that I've been following for a while now that just recently released a playable demo on Steam. First up, we have a new first-person survival horror game called Confronted. This indie horror game is currently in early access, with the first chapter available right now and the rest of the game being available as new chapters released sometime in the future. The game gives off Amnesia: The Dark Descent vibes and promises to have a pretty captivating story. I actually plan on playing this demo later this week to see if this game is worth picking up, but as a fan of the Amnesia franchise, I feel like this game will be right up my alley. Anyway, as I said earlier, this demo is currently available right now on Steam, with the entire first chapter available right now for anybody that buys it while it's in early access. Another demo I want to try out this week is Unfriendly Friend. Catchy name there, friend. This one really has me excited, and it's kind of gone under the radar for me until recently. As a fan of horror visual novels and as someone who seriously thinks that this subgenre of horror is completely underrated, I'm really excited to jump into this new game in a genre that also combines it with elements of interactive horror and survival horror to a certain extent. The game will challenge you to make important decisions that could save or harm your friends as you're investigating an abandoned hospital. You'll need to find resources and solve puzzles in order to make sure you and your friends make it out alive. No release date for this one yet, but as a fan of the animation style of Slay the Princess, this game looks to be a lot of fun, and I'll definitely be checking out the demo on Steam later today. Next up, let's talk about the Silent Hill franchise. With Silent Hill 2 being the main focus for Konami and its marketing over the last year, we've seen very few updates on the other announced games of the Silent Hill series. And while Silent Hill F probably won't be seen until the next Silent Hill transmission, there is a small possibility that we could see an update from Silent Hill Townfall as early as today. In fact, about an hour after this video goes live, there will be an Annapurna Showcase at 9 AM Eastern. What does this have to do with Silent Hill Townfall? Well, while No Code is developing the game, believe it or not, Annapurna is actually the ones publishing it, not Konami. Which basically means that most of the marketing for Silent Hill Townfall will probably be handled by Annapurna directly. Considering Silent Hill Townfall might very well be Annapurna's biggest project in development currently, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if they decided to reveal a new trailer on the game, even if it's just another short teaser. I imagine that Townfall isn't that far off either, considering that the rumors suggest that Townfall is a narrative-driven horror anthology game that's inspired by the Dark Pictures anthology series, but set in the universe of Silent Hill. Either way, we'll know very soon as the Annapurna Showcase goes live at 9 AM Eastern today. Again, like literally an hour after this video goes live. So there's a major gap in the horror game industry for dinosaur horror games, a subgenre that hasn't been fully explored successfully since the first two Dino Crisis games in the 90s. And yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing a remake or a reboot of Dino Crisis anytime soon, but there is one indie dinosaur horror game that has me very excited. That of course being Deathground. Inspired by games like Alien Isolation and Outlast, Deathground is a co-op indie survival horror game in which you and two friends must work together in order to escape a facility filled with terrifying dinosaurs around every corner. And this week we finally got some updates on the game. Jaw Drop, the indie dev team behind Deathground, recently dropped a new video on their channel called Deathground. Essentially, it's a start of a new mini-series that'll keep us updated on the game as it gets closer to its release. The major takeaways in the video includes updates to the game courtesy of feedback they received from their Kickstarter playtesters, and the fact that they are still planning on launching the game with a total of 5 available maps from the get-go. I'm really excited about this game, and while it's not my Dino Crisis, I'm hoping it'll scratch that itch until we finally get that much anticipated remake. Come on Capcom, get on it please. Speaking of indie horror games, my favorite indie horror game of 2024 is now finally coming to consoles. Mouthwashing is one of the best indie psychological horror games I've ever played, as it explores a deep story of crew members being stuck in space with nobody coming to rescue them. While the animation style does take some getting used to, Mouthwashing is easily one of the deeper and darker stories of 2024, and that's saying a lot considering that we got Silent Hill 2 Remake last year. If you're a fan of psychological horror games that really mess with your mind, then I highly recommend checking out Mouthwashing when it comes to consoles later this year. For the record, that includes PS5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Dead by Daylight is one of the most underrated ongoing video games out there, considering the fact that the devs continue to update this game multiple times each year. And yeah, while that obviously means we get new killers and survivors multiple times throughout the year, I'm also referring to the gameplay side of things and the fact that they are always trying to find new ways to create a fun atmosphere for everybody in the community. For example, Dead by Daylight recently just dropped a major announcement in terms of their roadmap for the future of the game in terms of the gameplay experience itself, in which they plan to implement all of these improvements over the next year in 2 phases. I won't dive into each improvement as there's a lot of them, but it's on the screen right now and I'll have a link to it in the description of today's video. Anyway, if this roadmap is any indication, it seems that they plan on addressing some of the longest running issues of the game, such as camping and tunneling. Obviously, Dead by Daylight isn't perfect, but you gotta admit, the fact that the devs constantly listen to the community and continue to update the game consistently every single year is a great example of how live service games should be. But that does it for this episode of What's Up Survival Horror. There's not really any new and exciting horror games releasing till March, so I don't have anything to talk about this week in terms of upcoming games. But with games like Post Trauma, Tormented Souls 2, and By Sweet Carol around the corner, I'm hoping we'll get some official release dates for some of the indie horror games releasing in the second quarter of 2025, because I gotta be real with you guys, we haven't seen much in terms of horror games in 2025 thus far. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dead of Darkness and The Mew House, but I'm really waiting for that Dark Horse horror game to just hit me, and right now I have no idea when I'll be getting that game. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Nerd Space Games. Take care.